So this morning, I realized that both last night and this morning, for many people, felt a little bit like drinking from a fire hose. And that I might have said a lot in a little bit of time, and I do apologize for that. Sorry, clearly you take a long time to say that you can't remember anything from this morning, but you're welcome to take a seat if you're ready. There we go. So I do apologize for speaking quickly and a lot. We will make notes available. I'll tell you guys how to get a hold of that, as well as all of the slides right at the end today. I'll tell you how to do that, and I'll do my best to speak slower, but I am still going to get excited and speak quickly. So just wave at me or ask me afterwards. I'm happy to explain it again. But just a little bit of where we're at in our journey. You guys will remember that we started the conversation, and it would appear that, oh, there you go. Where we're at in our journey. You guys will remember that we had a report that went out. You filled in a survey. We're having this conversation, and then there will be a report at the end built on the research, the survey, the conversations we're having. And today, this afternoon, we're going to focus on just moving from relevance to the next step, which is obstacles. So this morning we spoke about relevance. I'm actually going to give you some feedback from the information you sent in this morning. We're actually going to wrap it up into some clear, concise ideas, and then we're going to start moving into the conversation around obstacles. Tomorrow morning is going to be very significant because tomorrow morning we're going to speak about our relationship to technology. So one of the key things is how to engage technology correctly, and we're going to deal with that tomorrow. We're going to learn from this very smart room of some wisdom around technology, and then we'll take it from there to 2050 trends and beyond. So this morning, just to refresh your memory, we spoke a little bit about creative disruptions. Do you guys remember the conversation that technology develops, something new develops, and then there's a creative disruption that means that things become irrelevant and other organizations, other ideas stand up. And what we tried to do towards the end of our conversation around these innovation cycles or these creative disruptions that disrupt technologies or disrupt theological education over the ages, we landed and we tried to define the current stage. What are the current disruptions that we're facing at the moment? And this slide is the feedback from this room, and we analyzed it a little bit further, and this is what the analysis came down to. So what you said, what the smart room said, is that basically some of the key ideas was online, digital, flexible, technology, accessibility, chaotic, and distracted. That's the words that you think of that defines the age or the time that we're finding ourselves in. And as we looked at it, we found that the different words actually work together in nice themes. And there's three themes that emerged. The disruptors that we're facing in theological education at the moment is essentially these three things. The first one is digitization, right? So if you look at these words, you'll see that online digital technology speaks about digitization. If you go back here, you'll see that the second one is a VUCA world. Who knows what VUCA is? Anybody? Remember it from the pandemic? It was one of those favorite terms: volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguity, right? It's a VUCA world. It's a space we find ourselves in. And if you look at the blue ones here, flexible, chaotic, distracted, right? The reality is that we're experiencing the uncertainty of the world that we're in. The rapid change that we're experiencing is impacting on the way that we're doing what we're doing. And the last thing is that accessibility, both as a positive and a negative, is a big theme, right? Accessibility, accessible, you'll see that it kind of keeps going, expansive, so forth and so on between the different words here. So well done on defining where we're at. But then what about the future? If we think of relevance, what does future relevance look like? And what we did when we spoke through this is we actually looked at these different things, and you guys came up with 399 responses of what we need to do to stay relevant. Well done everybody, for participating. But it took us a while, and thanks to AI, here's the themes that it was summarized into, right? So basically, if you look at the different themes, then for us to stay relevant, what we told one another is biblical focus is most important. And I'm so excited to see that emerge here. Secondly, and you can see the different things here. Biblical focus, biblical orthodoxy, the fact that we need to be Christ-centered, and you can keep going. There's 129 pieces of feedback from this group that deals with biblical focus. Secondly, innovation. We've got to keep on innovating. If we're going to stay relevant, innovation is important. You'll see technological literacy, mindset, stability, increased flexibility around digitization, sustainability, so forth and so on. And then the others, I'm not going to have time to go into the details, but contextualization. So basically just being well contextualized to different environments, youth engagement, collaboration, and accessibility. And you'll see how these different themes emerge. Now, as you read through these themes, you made certain submissions this morning where you said, this is what I think. And maybe you're reading them and you're thinking, wow, that's exactly what I said. Or you're reading them and you're thinking, that's not what I said at all. So what I want you to do for a moment is I want you to consider these different themes, these different things that's important for us to stay relevant. And we're going to continue our submission. We're going to continue our engagement this afternoon. And this is the part where you scan the code if you haven't yet. Okay, so find a wall, scan the screen in the front, find one of these codes, or simply go to menti.com and insert the code right at the top there, 185796666. So either insert the code at menti.com or scan it. Okay, everybody ready? Everybody good? Okay, we're going to take a moment of self-reflection. I'll leave the code up at the top of the screen if you need it. But what I want you to do is I want you to consider these different themes, these different things we need to do in order to stay relevant. And I want you to do a little bit of introspection for the next moment. Is with regards to your space and organization, which of the following trends are important? So rate the relevance of these trends, the relevance of these responses to staying relevant within your context. And what I want you to do is I just want you to consider your organization, your institution, your formal or non-formal educational institution. And I want you to say, with regards to innovation, this is absolutely what we need to be focusing on, or you know what, innovation really doesn't matter to us, and so forth, with contextualization, youth engagement, collaboration, and accessibility. As you kind of make your way through the list, which ones are most relevant to your institution and space? What is interesting is that youth engagement seems to be a low focus for this group, or of low importance for us to stay relevant to the future. And biblical focus, as you can see from the survey, is a clear winner, that we definitely feel we need to preserve the truth. We need to look after that. We need to look after the relevance of the Bible. And then, as you can see through the list, we kind of can see the different things. If you see the little gray mountain, that's how people rated these different ones with regards to relevance for themselves. That wraps up our conversation about relevance this morning. And right now, what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to a discussion around the obstacles that face it. See, here's the thing. Everybody wants to be relevant, but not everybody become relevant or stay relevant, because there's some real obstacles to staying relevant. Everybody wants to stay biblically true, but not everybody does. Everybody wants to continue to be more and more accessible, but not everybody does. What are the obstacles that's standing in our way? What are the challenges that we face in our efforts to stay relevant and our effort to journey into the future in a positive way? What are the roadblocks along the way, the potholes that we need to avoid? What is resisting us in this process? And we looked at the survey that we sent out beforehand that I mentioned yesterday, and we did a study into what it would take. And the question was, what are the challenges that you're facing in order to stay relevant? And the obstacles that was highlighted by this group within the context of the survey was fourfold. I don't want you to do anything. If you have your mentee out, do not respond, okay? So if there's any responses now, somebody isn't paying attention. Because what we're going to do is, rather than responding individually, we're going to respond to these four as a group. And one person per group of 3 or 4 is going to have the opportunity to convey your group's opinion on these 4 obstacles. Okay, so you need to find agreement with 3 people, and then one of you need to respond. And you're going to have a couple of minutes for the discussion. And what I want you to discuss is, oh, somebody was disobedient. We have one disobedient individual. Okay, if anybody can find the disobedient individual, take them aside, okay? But one person per group of 3 or 4, I want you to force rank these together and decide as a group which one of these obstacles is the greatest obstacle you're facing, and which one of these obstacles are the least difficult, the least challenging within your context. Okay, here's the 4 things. Adapting to a changing world. We've got to be adaptive. The problem is our history counts against us. Success will test you in ways failure never will, right? Secondly, accessibility. Thirdly, affordability and resources. And lastly, a lack of technological innovation. Take some time, make a group of 3 or 4. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to discuss it. And one person per group, please nominate that person, needs to submit your results on how you would like to force rank this as a group. Let's take a couple of moments. Ja. Kost het tijd. Okay, so once you've got agreement in your group on the priority or the level of challenge of these 4, I want you to lock it in and one person to submit it. So submit your answer once you feel like you agree. And if you've already submitted your answer and you have a moment as a group, have a look on the screen and see if you agree or disagree with the order of challenge as presented by the consensus of the group. You have about 10, 15 seconds left to finish the conversation. There is just never enough time to have a conversation like this. The good news is that we're about to go to dinner, and that will afford you an opportunity to continue the conversation, right? Okay, so if I can have your attention back to the front here, I'm actually going to ask you for your feedback. So I know that in these groups, as you were having discussions a moment ago, each and every one of these different groups that's about to give me their attention any moment now. Every one of these groups, I know that a lot of wisdom was just shared in the room. So what I want to ask you for a moment is I want to ask you to share some of that wisdom with the rest of us. So if you think of your group discussion, if everybody can respond and everybody could say, when we had this conversation, this is the concept that stood out to us. So this is why we ranked number one what we ranked number one. Or this was the challenge that we faced. What is the one thing that stood out to you from this conversation? What is the one thing that you would say, this was something I just learned from the conversation, or this is what we agreed on, this is what we disagreed on, this is the lessons I learned. It's different viewpoints, different perspective. Finances actually impact all of the obstacles. What a great learning. Isn't that powerful? Great learning right there. Money talks, right? They're all related. Isn't that true? These different things are related one to another. They all work together. It's not just one of them. Context, context, context. Technology is constantly changing, and our ability to adapt is slower, right? And isn't it true that finances impact our ability to adapt to technology? Now, how many of you are reading this and going, wow, I wish I was part of that group? No? Okay, don't put up your hand. You're all right. Okay, but maybe you're reading this and you're saying, that's exactly what we said. But do you see how we're starting to work together and form together? And can we quickly get the AI summary of this one, Ulrich? Of the 107 we've got so far. Can you press space for me? There we go. Okay, so let's see. Let's see what happens, what we just said. Let's have AI summarize it for us. And while it does, we'll get back to it tomorrow, but I'm going to allow it to do that a little bit. Let me wrap up by saying this, okay? So you guys would have seen that both resources, technology, how to engage technology, how to understand technology, and how to stay up to date with technology. Digitization is a massive part of our conversation here together. We're going to actually spend tomorrow morning digging deeper into our relationship with the digital world and how do we engage with emerging technologies together. So there's a little bit of feedback, adapting to challenges, context dependency, technological change, financial impact, accessibility issues, and then some additional responses that has not yet been done. We'll sort through all of these, continue to bring them together and summarize them. One last thing from my side before I step off is some of you have asked that I should take it slow in moving on because just while you're still typing, we run out of time, okay? Once again, don't put up your hand. We don't want to know who you are, but we're sorry for the limited time. I do want to encourage you to engage the conversation asynchronously. So there's a way that you can continue to engage this conversation continuously, and all of the slides, all of the information that was shared, recordings of these sessions. If you want to see how things are starting to take shape, you can actually join the conversation throughout the course of the day and the weeks and months ahead on the future of theological education, because we've created a Lausanne collaborative action team about the future of collaboration, and we're inviting you to be a part of that. We're actually sorting this consultation, these conversations we're having, into this space. So you'll see there's a short sign-up process, and then you can engage this actual conversation simply by following that link. This link will always also, or has also been sent to Cvent, so you should be able to access it through Cvent. So if you feel like you have a question or a comment or would like to make a submission, or that there is a document or a thought that we shouldn't miss in this process, or you simply want to say, I wish I had the slide from this morning to show to somebody, all of that information will be part of our asynchronous, continuous conversation in this space. And not only that, you'll be able to meet all the people in the room in that space as well. So do scan that and feel free to continue. See you tomorrow morning.